Welcome, welcome everyone to Toku Portal Podcast. It's me, Zero, here with.
Rye. Just the two of us tonight. It's gonna be a short one, anyways. Uh, so let's talk about Banjo's past here. His parents both worked at Namba Heavy Industries Integrated Science Laboratory as security guards. An unmanned probe returns from Mars, and then his mother suddenly collapses, and they find out she's 1 month pregnant, and then 1 month later she gives birth to Banjo. So yeah, 2 months.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man. That's something out of like, um, shit. I was gonna say aliens, but it's not aliens. I guess the Mission to Mars franchise. Whatever. Um, yeah, that is messed up shit. But on the other hand, this show just continues to give Banjo backstory, either one of other writers or two more closer to fucking Amazon. From the Netflix show, which is like, oh, he's not human. He has these cells. I'm like, oh, okay, now you're literally ripping off the plot, like a different show, kind of. It's kind of funny, but like, it's interesting. Like, the zombie thing I thought was gonna happen, but like they went with the oh no, he's kind of like a weird alien hybrid science experiment thing, which is like, oh, I thought he was gonna be Amazon number three. He ended up being Amazon number two.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, from the new shows, from the yeah, from the online show.
Uh, so apparently he had a lot of tests done on him. Makes sense. And the strange thing is that he doesn't remember it. They probably messed with his memory somehow. But they found an alien structure in him. So Sawa theorizes that an alien life form hid on the probe, and when it got back to Earth, impregnated Banjo's mother. That's creepy.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. I guess I could say more, but like, yeah, that is
I mean,
messed
I
up
saw an
shit.
episode of Star Trek once where something like that happened.
TNG. That's what I was thinking. Like the Deanna Troy one.
Yeah. Uh, Except that was like a week, not 2 months.
So much worse. Just like that whole damn episode.
Oh. Alright. We'll talk more about Banjo later, but let's talk about Gentoku. He joins the fight and tells Sento about Namba impersonating Masakuni. That was a pretty anticlimactic reveal, but alright. I guess there was no real reason to play it up. Um, he's
Yeah, I mean, I do like how throughout that fight, like, you think like, oh, we're just gonna like do the fight and stop and talk, but then like you see Gentoku's like smart enough that he sees that like one of the grunts, like one of the gear bros is like dehensioned and like lying right there, so like they fight a little bit more, and then he tells them the rest. I was like, oh, that's a nice touch.
right, because they have a kill switch in him that can go off anytime they want if he steps out of line.
Oh god, more Kabuto in this show. More all early Heisei writers, I guess.
Uh, he also says he just wants to reunite Japan, and he doesn't want Namba to take over the world. So he's kind of putting a lot of faith into Sento here.
Yeah, I think like the difference is like Sento wants, not Sento, Nanba wants to rule the world, whereas like Gentoku just wants Japan to be strong again
Yeah.
and not be like a fucking warmongering shithole. I mean, like basically Namba kind of wants like the glory days, like World War II Empire type shit. Like I don't think he cares that much about Japan, but basically the rest of the world will see it as that. And like I think Gentoku kind of knows that because he actually cares about the country as a whole. So he's like, no man, I just want us back to being how we used to be, instead of this fucking nonsense.
And I think that we had some speculation earlier on about what the light from Pandora's box did to all those people. I think this kind of gives us our answer here. It didn't really change them, it just took their emotions and ambitions and amplified it.
Yeah, I think that is probably the best explanation. It's also a little bit better because like if it made them different people, then like everybody would just be Stark. And that's not what's happening.
Yeah,
It's just it's just they just all wanted to be reach the top and they all had different reasons for it.
the biggest argument for this is that Masakune was going to keep his word when he lost the champion fight. Like, and Namba was like, no, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. Like they want to be number one, but they all have like different values of what the hell being number one is. Whereas like if it was Stark, if his plan was like, okay, I want to rule all of Japan, which is what's not his plan, but like if he wanted that, he would have been like, yeah, fuck that. He that's why exactly he supports Namba.
Yeah. Um, Anything else you have to say about Gentoku? Because that's pretty much it for me.
I mean, they're pretty much pulling the like Kiria back from the dead, or like oh, he's an evil writer, but like he's gonna betray like the arc boss, and turn good. So like they're giving him generic bad guy writer turn good arc, but I'm like, yeah, at least we're not making it all hyper dramatic,
Yeah.
because we don't fully trust this guy yet.
Do you think he's gonna live to the end of the series?
What other plot does he have at this point? He's alive. I think he will because either he lives to the end and then like for him to become a fully like good writer, he has to sacrifice. Okay, like I mean, he might make it close. There's two options. He either lives or he makes it really close to the end, and he finally realizes that everything what he really wanted was like he gave everything for Japan to be great again, and in doing that, like he had to sacrifice his life too. Like he could die during that. I don't think he's dying in this arc because like he's like second strongest writer right now, right? Like who
Yeah,
the hell's gonna take him out? Like Stark? Like I think Gentoku is smart enough to like get away from Stark if he sees that coming.
but they also have that kill switch in his body, so there's that little cop out.
I know, but I think like they're not okay. Here's the thing: they have that, but no villain has ever actually like basically it's like, oh, I can just press this button and like kill a rider. Like has that ever worked? Like never, right? It's
Mm,
most likely like, oh, they say that explains why Gentoku doesn't betray them, and what's gonna happen is like Sento's gonna figure out a way to like take that system down or help Gentoku and then get him on his side. So I think it's just setting up the redemption story arc. I don't think he's actually gonna die because of a kill switch. Like it'd be shocking if that happened, but I'm like, we've had like so many years of Rider, and that's never happened. So I don't think it's
has it really never happened?
like I don't know. Maybe nah, I don't think like Show are
I can't think of any
like
examples.
yeah, like Show the only one who died are like Tackle and Rider Man, and Rider Man blew up because of a rocket, and Tackle was poisoned because fighting this kaijin who like had poison powers. Um, and then Heisei wise, like a couple of them died, but not because like they deactivated like a system or something to control them. Like they've had systems that could like shut them down or like paralyze them or like kind of kill them, but like it's never actually been like, oh, villain activates switch, Rider ends up dead. Like it's never happened.
Okay. All right. So more on Banjo because this episode is all about him. Uh, Stark uses Pandora's box to shoot a blast of energy at him. Instead of being hurt, he kind of absorbs the energy and to infuses it into his like pseudo bottle that has the dragon jelly in it, and it's turned into a new bottle. Uh, and then he puts it into the knuckle that Sento made, and unlocks his next form, Cross Magma. I like the henshin effect with like the lava pouring over him. This is a nice form.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. My only problem is like these like flashy effects are getting so insane. Like pretty soon, like you henshin anywhere around a guy and like you get burned as their allies. Like we're getting to that stage. Like all the build transformations, like if you're standing in front or behind them, like you get blasted by their henshin devices, right? Because like they drop
Alright,
down and they're like all these mechanical things,
I'm
right? And
waiting.
now like Banjo like literally flows lava on you. Like what the fuck?
I'm
Okay,
waiting
go
for
ahead.
the episode where Sento henshins into Rabbit Rabbit and hits someone in the face, jumping from piece to piece.
Oh my god! Like I was waiting for them to do like the Kabuto thing, and it just like flies off and like hits someone when he changes form. But like that hasn't happened yet either. Like he goes from rabbit to rabbit to tank tank. But like, whatever. It's interesting. But yeah, you're right. Like I'm pretty sure. Like maybe if they remember this effect, like if these forms last to the end, and we get like a crossover movie and like some director actually cares, we'll finally maybe get one of these actually hit something, you know?
Maybe.
Because like it seems that only in like V cinemas or like crossovers where like the directors actually give a shit, it only happens, so it's pretty rare. You know, otherwise they'll be like, ah, it's too expensive. We're not even gonna acknowledge it. Which is kind of sad, but like, yeah, these things are getting fucking dangerous. Like, I'm surprised they didn't melt like all the guys around them. Like, he like literally pulled like 20 feet of lava at least, right? Like Kazumi or like Sento should at least jump back or
Right.
something.
And after he was done fighting, he was complaining that the suit was too hot.
Yeah, which is weird because he's wearing it. Like, is the heat like reaching the inside? That is so weird. Also, that kind of like, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it did annoy me because I'm like, come on, man, like, give him one episode where you don't like make fun of him. Like, he literally got a badass new form. Like, I get it. It's maybe so like, okay, we gotta remember it's still kind of a kid show, so we can't make it too insane. But I'm like, all the other shit is batshit insanity. Like, why does Banjo like? I mean, is he the comic relief? Like, he's supposed to be the secondary writer. Like, he doesn't need comedy every single time he's in an episode. You know, that was.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I'm like, that didn't need to be in this. Like, it would have been fine if he did it like the second time, but then you're like, oh well, how come you didn't notice the first time? I'm like, I don't know, man. Make him pass out once he like transport de-engines or something.
Uh, at least the suit looks good.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. It's got like the what, like the seven head Orochi or thing going on. Like it's got the like at least seven dragons on it, so that's pretty cool. I was just thinking like how many heads could we actually end up sticking on a belt, and I got up to like fucking 10. Because like on a suit, because it's like right, you could put it like one on all. I mean, you could do more, but like minimum you could stick 10 because you could do four for the limbs, two for the shoulders, one for the belt, and then one for the chest and the back, and that ends up being 10. And it's like that's insane, but like if you wanted, you could put more like on the shin guards and like the elbows and shit. But I don't know. I mean, I think they were just going with like this, the whole like Orochi head count thing. That's why like Banjo has like one shoulder that's a dragon and the other one's just flame. And because like it might just be he that weird thing that infected him is like the thing that destroyed Mars, so he's actually like some weird hybrid of Philip and Decade. Like
Okay.
Philip and Tsukasa, where he's like some non-human thing that's born to this like weird experiment thing that can go beyond his unnormal human's limit, but is also the destroyer of world. And his thing is, um, I was evil, but now I fight for good. But like in his, it's like they wiped his memory, and the false memory makes him out to have wizards backstory. So it's like four different fucking writers
Okay,
in one.
okay, you're getting crazy here.
I mean, to be fair, like it's pulling stuff, but like, yeah, this is what happens when you watch too much. Like, actually, I haven't watched another writer show in a while, like any tokusatsu besides like Build. But yeah, at this point, like if you watch so much Heisei, like you just end up like fusing everybody's backstory into one thing. Yeah, it's insanity.
uh, I'm still not convinced though that Banjo is evil. I still feel like it might be Stark. That
I mean, it still says good.
we were
I just
down
hit
for
refresh.
about 5 or 6 seconds. I think we're back on
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I mean,
Does
it says good, but I can't see a preview window because YouTube is fucking dumb and it messes up like this. But I guess we're pretty much to the end. Yeah, like the thing is, when like Santa looks over to Stark, and Stark's like, okay, it's all going to plan. All I need is the ultimate driver now. I think Evolt is just the ultimate driver, and that's why he needs it. But I still think like the dude who blew up Mars is Banjo, or like is infecting his body.
hmm, uh, well, after Banjo overpowers Stark, he goes for Pandora's box and is able to manipulate the tower the way Stark was. And then as they're leaving, Stark comments that the vessel is complete and now he just needs the ultimate driver. So this kind of makes me think that Stark is evil and that Banjo's like might just be like something that he created. Like he's just trying to get the strongest body maybe because Soichi's not very
Yeah,
strong.
maybe. I mean, that would be an interesting thing. Like, if maybe to activate like his full power, like of the Evolve driver or whatever, he needs a guy with high enough level. But like Sweetie's holding up pretty well. But yeah, it could be that. I mean, I guess that would be the second explanation. Like, if it's not mine, then that's probably the thing that makes most sense. Is like, yeah, Evolve's actually Stark, or like yeah, Stark, not Suichi, and then like he's taking over Suichi's body and he's trying to make another one. Like that would be interesting. I still think I've heard this plot somewhere, but whatever. I'm not gonna waste time going trying to figure
Maybe
out
you
what.
have. And then while going through the data Sawa collected, she and Mizora learned that the person in charge of Banjo's research was Katsuragi Shinobu, Katsuragi Takumi's father. Are are we supposed to gasp or something?
I mean, yeah, like it's super dramatic, but the thing is, like, for the audience, like we never saw like we barely see Katsuragi, and we've never seen his dad.
Like all we
Basically, I
know,
mean,
the only time his dad was mentioned before this was he died.
right, like exactly. Um, so I think what's gonna happen is like it's gonna be like interest, maybe. I think it's mostly just for like the Sento and Banjo drama of like,
Yeah,
holy shit, you experimented on me, and we're back to fucking like square one of like, oh, you're the guy who did all this shit. I was like, no, no, it wasn't me, it was my dad. And it's like, oh, I'm surprised at this point. Like this happens like all the fucking time. Like, all right, Gaim kind of had this thing where like they were controlling everything, but then like Gaim was still rescuing people, and I'm like, why are you pulling your punches? And then they had this whole war thing, but they never went with it. At least Bill did the war, but what's going on is like they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like Banjo's girlfriend is real. Like I would have had it as like, I mean, she came back and she died and she became the bottle, so it wouldn't make sense. But to be a real like fuck you, it would have been like, oh yeah, those memories that you see, that super fake ass looking flashback that we see all the time. No, that's just an implanted memory. I mean, that's not gonna happen because it messes with the continuity. But like, that's what I would have done.
Hmm.
Um, and then it would have been like everything you and your dad do is like screw with my life, and that would have been a real like dividing point because it would have been like, okay, well technically Banjo has the strongest form now, right? And now we were close to getting the Pandora's box. Like if I was doing that and that were the story, it would have been like, okay, Stark then still gets to keep the Pandora's box, and it would have been like Stark reveals that Banjo gets stronger. They could have taken the Pandora's box, but it would have had the team would have then split. But like, I guess the show doesn't want to split up any of the writers, and it's kind of gotten to the point where like we're collecting them all. Like, it's not really a writer versus writer show, even though it kind of had that like in the middle or like a little bit of it.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
was
mean that would have
kind
been
of
awesome.
that for a while.
Yeah, like early on with like Stark and Rogue, and then like Grease's crew shows up, and like they kind of do that, but it's like it's so not a writer versus writer show. It's like, yeah, we're doing this because we had to fight, but like in a writer versus writer show, like you would fucking murder a dude pretty much, or like have an entire arc. Whereas in this, it's like, nah, it was just war, and instead of soldiers, they just had writers, which is more realistic, but it doesn't match with the writer versus writer formula.
Yeah. Uh, it's weird because it's not really Rider versus Rider anymore, but it's also not like Rider versus Monster. It's just Rider versus bad guy.
I mean, I guess that gives it more of a classic feel because like the monsters and the writers in the show are like the same dudes. Like they're made and they're monsters and this stuff, but like yeah, it's weird. It's like a weird mix. Because especially for the last couple of years, it's like, okay, no, we're fighting the monsters, or we're fighting the writers, or if we fight the monsters and the writers, like they're like distinct, but we use both formulas. Like X-Age still had both, you know. I mean, it kind of pushed the monsters to the side, but like, it still kind of tried to have both. But like Build is like, nah, you know what? Fuck that. We're just gonna make our own formula, and it's an interesting take. Like this episode was pretty solid. Um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting going forward. Like it all hinges. Like this is the problem. We've kind of gone with like, all right, we're gonna destroy Agito's formula, sort of, or maybe go full circle and reinvent it and make our own version of Agito's formula. But then you end up having, oh right, our sticking point is the same thing. Like what happened on the Akatsuki? And here it's like, what the hell is the deal with the Pandora's box? Like if they don't deliver on that, like it might damage the
Oh
show.
god, if this is another Akatsuki Go thing, like holy shit. Because that was such a letdown. Like
Like I don't think.
they built it up for like half the first half of the series, like this whole huge important thing, like hush hush, can't tell anyone, and then when they finally tell the audience, is like, why couldn't you have told us that? There was nothing in there that we didn't need to know.
Yeah, I mean, it build isn't as bad, but it's all like just building up to this whole Mars stuff, and like if the Mars stuff isn't interesting, because it's kind of getting to the point where like we're at episode 31. Like if they want another 20 episode of this Mars shit, like it better be worth it because like fucking Kronos was not worth his goddamn runtime. Like it was definitely like 30% to 50% too long. Like
Yeah.
if we run into that, like this show had is like at a good point right now. Like I don't want it to go down and hit like filler hell if it goes down this story arc. Like okay, we have like two plot. Like okay, we got to take down. Okay, there's three plots, but like they're not that distant because the players are pretty much the same people, right? Like we got to take out Namba. He's probably gonna be like, okay, he's done. That's the end of this arc. And then it's gonna be all the Mars shit, right? And that's gonna be like, right? It's gonna be Stark and Evolve, that storyline. Uh, and it's gonna be like Gentoku becomes a good guy, that storyline, right?
Right.
And then what? And then it's like all the Mars stuff. Like, is Bonjo gonna be a bad guy? What the hell's going on with Mizora? And it's like, yeah, that's interesting. But like, are if you focus on that and you don't deliver, it might hurt the show. And you have to think of the other factors. Like, all right, let's say Gentoku joins them, right? What the fuck's he gonna do, right? Like Greece, what does he do, right? Like at this point, you would have way like right now they have too many writers because the villains can barely keep up.
Right. And like,
Yeah,
what's the deal with Mizora right now? Her deal is that her relevancy on the show is coming to an end, and they need an excuse to keep her around.
I know, but like, is that enough plot for 20 episodes?
No,
I mean, it
they.
could be. It could be.
I think
Yeah,
they
go
need
ahead.
to establish like another villain aside from Stark and Nampa.
I think that's like X8's biggest problem is like all the villains keep getting streamlined, so it's like literally like right, we had three like bad guys. Okay, we had like Night Rogue and Stark. Then we had like the three prime ministers. Yeah, the three prime minister are like I mean I guess you could count Kentoku as one man plus Namba Industries and like we keep knocking each one off the list, right? Like now at the end, like Namba's gone, Stark's the only one left. Like can Stark sustain 20 episodes?
He
You know,
cannot
that's
as he is right now. And they keep like suggesting like, oh, he's gonna get even stronger. But when is that going to happen? When are we
like even
actually
if he yeah, even if he does, then it becomes the okay, we have four writers and they're fucking bullshit. I mean, like they're insane strong, right? Like you could build an army and they could blow them up,
Kazumi is
right?
the
Like
weakest amongst them and even he's like a major badass.
yeah, pretty much, right? Like it's gonna end up with the Chrono. I mean, it potentially could end up with the Chronos problem. It might not be, but the thing is, like, to beat such overwhelming odds, your villain just has to be even more broken. And like, yeah, Evol's gonna show up and it's probably gonna kick their ass. But like, if he continues to kick their ass for 20 episodes, it's gonna be nonsense because nobody would buy it. I don't know. Like, we we tend to get off on like these negative things, but it's not like the show's bad. It's just like, all right, nothing's happening because they're like setting up, but I don't know what the hell the show is gonna do, right? So I can't speculate on anything, and therefore I have to jump back on. Okay, I hope it's good because I can tell you what happens when it's not. That's why we end up talking like all this negative stuff because I think we're getting like a couple more downvotes and stuff now on our episodes. I mean, you know, it just means more people are viewing and stuff.
Right.
But it's not that we hate the show. It's like, what the fuck do we talk about? You know, it's just literally plot.
Build
Yeah,
is
go
build is like cycling between moments of like this is good and then this is bad. Like it's not entirely consistent.
yeah,
And it
and the bad
unlike
stuff's
X8
not like terrible.
it doesn't leave a whole lot to talk about like X8 did.
Yeah. And like the bad stuff isn't terrible, it's just it's pointing in a bad direction. Because like Chronos two parted. It was the last arc. Ghost same goddamn thing. Like Ghost got decent in the middle. And then it hit like filler hell like no tomorrow and it just fucking ground that series into the dirt pretty much. Um and it's like the same thing with like Wizard. Like Wizard's a decent show, but like because of all the behind the scenes with like the scheduling of the actors and all this other stuff, and like Bandai like demanding you put in more writers and all this shit, and like Gaim not being ready in time, like its pacing got
Oh, Gaim
terrible.
wasn't
Like
ready
that
in
is the
time.
yeah, that's why that's why Wizard goes up to like 53 or something.
Yeah, 53.
Uh, yeah, like the last like little arc and all that stuff, like that's mostly because they're like, oh, it's not ready. Like it's the whole like double wasn't ready, therefore decade got like another third like 30 to 50% more episodes than it should have.
Yeah, Double was
Yeah.
Decade rather was twice as long as it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, you could really tell because, like, after they hit that point of like, oh shit, the show shouldn't have gone this long, you could just see like the writers and the directors just like flip out in and out episode by episode. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? There's no consistency. It's just madness.
But we
And
also
like,
got some of our best episodes in that like period too.
I mean, yeah, but like fan service is good and all, but like I would rather have had good episodes and a small series than a long episodes with like super up and downs, which is what Decade's problem is. Like the one like here's the thing, like Sentai you can pad out um like a season kind of because you have multiple people, they're on a team, they bounce off each other, right? And like, oh, this isn't good or bad, but it's fine because like, oh, these villains suck. It's fine. They're gonna get new generals, as the next art rolls around. Rider doesn't have that. You either go like completely new enemies just showed up, or like people we didn't think were enemies are now enemies, or you do the streamlining thing of like, oh, we had like five villains, now we have three, then two, then one, and like Build is going in that direction, and that is the most dangerous direction to go as a writer show because like, oh man, you can do that, but you have to be like, oh, last arc, and now we've just revealed this guy as the villain. But like Stark's been the villain since episode one, and it's kind of getting annoying.
And it's not uncommon for a Rider series to carry the same main villain throughout its run, but that villain has to be a good villain. Uh, the problem is that like Stark flip flops a bit.
Yeah, like Stark's problem is like he's really like he's smart enough to be the final villain, but like you don't know what the fuck his goal is. Like, what is he doing? What is the next step? Like,
Blow
how
up
can he
the
get
Earth, I
there?
guess.
Maybe like he's trying to build his tower thing, but like, what does that do? What are his
Apparently
reasons?
it fucking
Like,
destroyed Mars.
yeah, but like, how did that? Like, that could have been like a million different things that could have blown up Mars. Like, it wasn't like a bomb because that wouldn't make an interesting show, right? They're not like, oh yeah, we're just gonna build a time bomb. Like, that'd be super boring. It's probably gonna be something weird. Um, yeah, like that is the problem because like when you have like, oh, you have the villains, but you have to have like an end goal, like in Wizard, right? Like, yeah, everybody kind of called who the final villain would be, but at least you knew what the fuck he wanted, you know? So, like, everything he kind of did, like, it made sense.
and
Or, like, yeah, go ahead.
like the thing about like early series Wiseman as like the main antagonist, he doesn't even do much beyond telling like Medusa like go find more gates or whatever. And he still like has this air of intimidation about him that makes you feel like he is a threat. And then when it finally comes to light more about him, you get the feeling like, okay, seems like he's a good villain. Here we go. Whereas Stark goes full force every time he shows up. It gets old.
Yeah. Plus, the thing is like he can manipulate people, but he can't do it with the writers because he's been fucking with them this whole show, and like everybody's fed up with this crap. You know, so like he can't manipulate them at this point. Basically, like the last gambit is like, oh, your dad experimented on Sento, right? Like that's not even Stark's gambit. That's just information that just happens to show up. You know, like it's nothing. Um, and he like you can be like, oh, he's strong, but I'm like, like Banjo just kicked his ass. Like if Sento really tried, he could kick his ass. Gentoku might fight him to a standstill. Like Kazumi might have a hard time, you know. So like at that point, and that's like one on one. Like you show up with like 2 or 3 or 4 of these guys. Like Stark's nothing.
Yeah, like
he has no.
after the ass kicking he got this episode, Stark needs to either power up or get out.
I mean, like the only other thing is like we do kind of like I think like what's happening on Flash right now, which is like the Thinker is like, oh, my whole like the Thinker is not being done super well on Flash or anything, but I think what his plan is like he's gonna do basically make like a bomb that releases like the Speed Force, and we're gonna get like I think the Godspeed storyline, where like a lot more like people with meta human abilities or like more speedsters are created. I think that's what the hell the Thinker's like end goal is.
What will
But
that
like if Stark does
accomplish?
some, well, he's basically trying to bring about like the Enlightenment. So I think he's just basically like trying to show humanity that they can be better. But like, so he's trying to give people more power so they can like like
I get it.
what the hell? Is that? Yeah, like more abilities, greater ambition
Yeah.
type of stuff. Because right now all the people with powers are like basically villains, so maybe that's what he's trying. Like he hasn't said it, but I think that's what the end goal is. Especially from like the end of this episode. If Stark does something like that, where like, oh, Pandora's Tower didn't like blow up Mars, it just made more people with powers. Like, all right,
Everyone's
that's
a
enough.
rider.
Like, yeah, like if we kind of do like Kamen Rider Chronicle or like like the X-Men or I guess the
Or,
Inhumans in this case.
or like the
Where
implied
like
Agito future.
yeah, or the implied Agito future, where like we just have like more people, or I guess like Wizard and Magic Land kind of
I,
thing, but that's more of like a good Agito future.
I just watched that movie.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Um, but basically, like if we do that, where it's like, oh, all these new guys just show up, that would make it interesting. But like if he doesn't pull something like that, I'm like, okay, Stark, dude, you're like fun to watch, but like you're kind of run into the gremlin problem from Wizard. Like, all right, at first you're fine, but like so many episodes of you, and then it's like, just get the fuck off of my screen. You know, that's like I don't have that with Stark yet, but like he's not the main villain yet.
Is he not though?
I mean, like he's the end goal, but like this isn't his arc. This is the Namba Industries
Yeah,
arc.
I guess. Yeah. I really don't know where they're gonna go with Namba from here. Like, what are they gonna do? We have Pandora's box now, so go away? No, Namba's gonna fucking launch an attack. Like, what's the plan to deal with Namba? Because he's not gonna give up, but they can't just kill him.
I don't know. Oh, maybe Okay, you know what? Maybe Gentoku might, because like you can say, well, if I didn't kill him, he would
Oh,
have killed me.
because Gentoku could become an anti-hero. He wouldn't have to play by that rule. Actually, that I'd be
Yeah,
down for that. That'd be great.
yeah, that would be interesting. To be fair, like Hazumi is a soldier. He would probably be like, whatever, man, I don't care. I'll fucking kill him if it means ending this damn war. And like Banjo doesn't care all that much. Like he was ready to go and fight fucking Hokuto one on one, start a damn war, if it meant ending this. Like I don't think Banjo would kill him in the end because
Sento
you
would
know
probably
they kind of
talk him down.
yeah, it's basically like exactly what the fuck happened last week's. I mean, last episode of Flash, where it's like
Oh!
yeah, yeah, where he's like elongated man or Ralph Dibney is pretty much ready. He's like, you know what? Fuck this shit. Like we have a way of taking out the goddamn thinker right now. We're just gonna fucking kill him. It's the simplest solution. Let's just do it. And the Flash like, no, dude, that's not how we do things. And he talks him down, and then whatever. I'm not gonna spoil that in the episode, but yeah, shit happened.
Uh,
Um,
a friend of mine at
but
work
but
was watching The Flash, and I think I know what spoiler you're talking about because I think she told me. But anyways,
yeah, like yeah, I think it's either like I think either Sento figures out a way to deactivate Gentoku's like kill switch that he has, and then Gentoku becomes good, or Gentoku decides to take out Namba, and therefore nobody has the goddamn kill switch to kill him, and like Gentoku has no problem killing people because he's fucking like a part of. I mean, he started Faust, right? So like he's killed tons of people. It doesn't matter to him. Like he shot his assistant. Like he's only alive because of Namba Industries.
yeah. What's the deal with I don't even remember that assistant's name anyways. Like he hasn't really done anything since he came back other than just be a dick.
You know what would be hilarious if they went like super Amazons and like at the end it turns out the assistant was working for Gentoku this whole time and is
What?
like the most loyal dude of all time. That's not possible because like he did the like step on Gentoku's hands and like now beg for me to help you shit. But my god, if we pulled the thing from like Amazon season one, I would man, that would be
I
amazing.
I need to watch Amazons.
Uh, yeah, so like my favorite character probably in okay, that's not true. Like my second favorite character. Like my favorite character is like the sniper dude on the extermination squad, but he's so cool. But my second favorite character is probably like the assistant dude, like the secretary of like the person who was running like the Amazon's project. Oh, that guy, he's so cool. I mean, he's like super like on time business like assistant dude because like he's the liaison between the extermination squad and like uh basically the company that created the Amazon's project. And he's just like some guy, some office worker dude, but he's like super serious all the time, kind of, and super punctual. And you think that'd be really boring, but he's like insanely loyal, and he pulls off like some crazy backstabbing shit
Oh
to
my god.
remain loyal, and it's amazing to watch. Like,
Oh jeez.
holy
I love that. I love
shit.
that type of shit.
Yeah, I know, I love it too. He's so cool, man.
Oh.
Ah, and we are super off track, and we thought this was going to be a short episode.
Uh, we
Ah,
we we filled for time. All right. So, final thoughts on
final
this
thought.
episode. This was a good episode, and I love the new form reveal. Uh, and I really like this series. I'm just concerned about its future and where it's gonna go, because we've seen shows like just hit a downward spiral plenty of times before that we see all the signs of it happening here.
Yeah, I agree. This show's really solid. It's nice that like Banjo got an upgrade because like he seemed like the guy lagging behind. Like technically Kazumi should be, but like Kazumi just has so much goddamn personality that like he can keep up regardless. Same thing with like Gentoku. Like he doesn't need another upgrade, but like his upgrade is pretty strong, and like Gentoku is a pretty good actor, so like he's got good screen presence. Like Banjo's actor can act. It's just they don't give him enough stuff to act, like fully show his range. Because he's supposed to be kind of like this meathead, whereas like his actor has like this amazing acting range.
Whereas
Um,
Kazumi's actor is allowed to go full force.
yeah, exactly. Like exactly. Like if we had like, I mean, Sento's actor is really good too, but like imagine like how good like Sento and like Kazumi's actor is. Like Banjo's actor is just as good. It's just like the show doesn't give him the. But like this episode was solid. Like Banjo is now like top tier or basically in the top tier list. So like I don't worry about him lagging behind. That's good. Hopefully this continues. Hopefully Stark actually gets a goddamn plan together for the final arc, you know. Um, and it's not just let me get the strongest belt and go against four riders
Yeah.
because that never breaks down.
like like part
Like
of part of Stark's problem is that having like a villain who has a mystery plan can be good storytelling if you leave like hints for the audience to try and figure it out. Stark gives no hints. He either tells you or he doesn't.
yeah, exactly. Um, to be fair, we did see a hint because like he was like, "Oh, now I need the strongest driver." So maybe they're starting to do that.
That wasn't really a hint though. That was more
And
just telling us.
I know, but at least they're starting to do it. So
Maybe it'll get
that's
better.
that's clearly bait for the next arc. And like yeah, maybe we're finally gonna get into like Stark, actually having a goddamn character arc instead of being I just show up and do shit, you know. Um, and if that happens, I think this could be a really solid show as it ends. As it's now, like it's still good, but like the problem like most people don't realize is like if you take a good show and you add like the last arc is just parroted, it doesn't end well. It just becomes boring and people stop watching. And like I don't want that to happen because this show deserves people watching.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody, tonight. Sorry we got a little off topic there at times. Uh, we'll be back next Tuesday for more Lupin Ranger versus Pot Ranger. That series is really good. And next Wednesday for more Kamen Rider Build. Let's see how this arc plays out now that the heroes have Pandora's box again. See you next time.
See ya. Thanks for joining us, everyone.